What's going on, everybody? It's Deathstroke here. So we are going to do something a little bit different. All right, we are not going to make this lore-based. We are just going to make this kind of like thought out and information-based on what we have thus far. Lore-based is great, and I like it, but I think it's a little iffy because they kept changing directions on where they were going with the story. With various characters throughout the story changing their idea past from what was originally intended. All right, so moving on. So originally, with everything in this game, you had your antagonist or your end state. Our end state of Destiny 1 vanilla was you meeting the stranger and you trying to take on the Vex and the darkness and kill the heart in the Black Garden. And you do. But the Black Garden and the heart of the Vex had nothing to do with Atheon in greater aspect. Is this you kill the Vex heart and it doesn't have any effect on Atheon, or vice versa. They don't coincide in the same meaning or the same world. It didn't weaken him, it didn't empower him. So what end state did you really accomplish by destroying this heart? Not lore based, just reality based. So moving on to another thing of Atheon having no real tethered to the world of Destiny. He is a big robot. He's a big Vex. You have the Templar, and you have all these little minute characters building up to it. You have a Gorgon maze, which are these ultra powerful harpies that at the time no one knew look completely taken. And yet they were before a time before Taken was even mentioned. Everything about the story didn't have a means to an end. It was you're fighting this person because they're bad, but why and how are we knowing where they are? Then we meet and defeat Skolas, which is a means to an end. You have your first one boss, if you will, but he was a story mode ending in a basic level. You then fight him again while he's imprisoned, which serves even less means to an end because he's already captured. There's no purpose behind it or reasoning why you would fight somebody who is imprisoned when you don't go in and fight somebody that you just arrested and sent to jail. It's so we move on to greater aspects and greater dark powers at will. You then have Omnigul, a Crota lieutenant that you face off twice in the span of the game. You also have Yut, which is one of the Death Singers that is summoning him from his soul that was trapped inside the crystal. You beat all these people up to him, and you take on this grander challenge of fighting these little smaller victories to get to this one big son of Oryx that is trying to prove his point. After you visit the shrine of Oryx in a mission that's telling you this is one of the most powerful hive there is. He is the Hive of Hive. And now you beat his son. Well, now he's mad. You fight all his lieutenants. You win. You beat his son. You go into the raid as a team of 6. And you fight this tyrant. You fight this giant who is trying to take over and claim a place in the world. After beating him, you learn through lore and various things that his brother is even more powerful than him. He is actually the weakest of all his brothers, which is interesting because he was a bitch to fight in the raid the first time. You then understand Oryx is mad. You've killed his son. Although the Hive don't really have kinship like that because they have kind of the lives of guardians. They can die and come back and die and come back through Hive rituals and summonings and whatnot. They are a guardian's greatest identical twin from the dark side. As said by the ghost himself, we have a lot more in common than we think. So you have Oryx coming to get you. Oryx brings upon one of the biggest and best raid formats that has ever entered the Destiny world, because you had a story, a meaning behind every aspect you were doing. You not only fought the remnants of him, the little ghosts that he brought to you, basically. You fought his son coming up to him. And after taking your fire team of 6, you finally approached him. You beat Oryx. Hopefully. Hopefully you beat Oryx. And conquered that path. And you saw him drifting off into the rings of Saturn. But things iffied. They became questionable for so many reasons. You have Eris Morn, who says as she picks up a crystal, "I will not fail." Well, this was on Oryx's sword, so who is she not failing? Is it Oryx and the Hive? Is it a greater entity? Who is she? Is she not failing the Queen? Who is she not failing? She is so far gone that she is warped by the Hive forever. She dresses in warlock robes while being a hunter. Her eyes are that of Mask of the Third Man and shaped as the Hive forever. You face Alakul. He attempted to take the throne from Oryx and failed for that of love. He was much easier to defeat yet again than Oryx ever was, as it should be. He attempted to beat Oryx and failed, and you slayed him just as easy as it should from how it sounds. He should be far easier to beat than Oryx. But that was not the case when it came to Gaul. We have our main antagonist. He is the story piece. He now somehow gets the power of the light siphoned into him. What makes you a guardian? What makes you strong? When we see in this scene where you are at the weakest you've ever been, you can, even after being healed, not being thrown off a cliff essentially, but even after being healed, you're the weakest you've ever been. Somehow, Titans wear jetpacks on their back. If you didn't notice, most of the armor includes a little mini jetpack. And yet you could not jump. Because you didn't have the light, which apparently turned on these jetpacks. You couldn't do anything that was special. And yet you defeated him with ease. It wasn't even a challenge if you were going to live or die. And yet this was the main antagonist of the main storyline. Every trailer of Destiny shows Gaul, or the puppies. Maybe there's the puppies too. But it does not show Calus, the Emperor. It doesn't show the main antagonist, and he is the true antagonist. And you defeat him so easy. And yet on the lore, it says that Gaul and his legion, when they decided to strike, they imprisoned Calus within the palace. How is that so? How is a man that can defeat 6 guardians that isn't even there because he is a robotic remnant of himself, able to drift between the shadow realm and the real world, able to be imprisoned by a person that takes 1 guardian to defeat while he's at his most powerful he's ever been? To me, this was kind of lackluster. We didn't have a big buildup. He was seemingly supposed to be all powerful. He wanted the power of the light so he could show that he was the true guardian, that he was legend. But that wasn't the case. He was beaten without even a second thought. You didn't need to even bring guardians in there to help you defeat this great foe. You simply could take him on yourself. There was no twist, nothing to it. However, when we did get to Calus, you did find out that he was but a mimic of his greater self. He has multiple forms, multiple bodies hanging on a wall in his palace. And yet, it still gives you the sense of what is the greater purpose and who is the great antagonist in this story. Calus wants you to go through his trial. He tests you through all of his phases. The beast, his pool room, everything is a test to be his champion, to help him with something. I don't know if he thinks that you are going to help him fight this fifth being that has been brought into the Destiny world that gets awoken, if you will, when the Traveler's Light shatters across the galaxy. You see the ships come in. Is he afraid of that? And he needs the help of a guardian? Or many? What is his motivation to put you through these trials? And is he the strongest antagonist? Or is he merely afraid of the strongest antagonist that we've yet to see? And that's what I ask of you. Who do you think the real antagonist is that is going to be in our story? We have Osiris coming up. Is going to be one of the DLCs. And then we're going to learn a little bit more about Rasputin. But even with Osiris, great warlock, we're going to learn more about Ikora Rey and her story and how she was his greatest pupil. We're also going to learn why he was cast out, more specifically from the last city, and how it came to be with him and the speaker. I know there's going to be a backstory, but who do you think is going to be the real antagonist? Who do you think, from hearsay or lore, do you think is going to be that spiritual fifth being in this column of enemies? Who do you think is going to be our next real foe? Because Gaul was merely an Alakul, easily beaten and soon forgotten. Nothing about him is set to remain as far as we can see. The Traveler even decided to disintegrate what left of him could be. So there will be no Oryx story with him to where we see him kind of drift away and come back. So I ask you, what do you think? I want to take a little bit of time and kind of break down the story thus far and kind of get a good picture of what we think could happen and who the real antagonist of Destiny 2 will be. If you guys enjoy this, drop a like. I could definitely use it. I want to try to get this to 100 likes. Small amount. Most of my videos have done well that are weapon reviews and some armor reviews, and I'm going to keep doing those and try to be as detailed as possible, if not more detailed than I have in the past, to better the viewer. But I really wanted to change it up and get some opinions of what you guys think. Alright guys, as always, stay awesome. Until next time, Deathstroke out.